Tell a story in the beginning, so if I start doing something weird, it's part of the thing, okay? All right, here we go. What is a value? A value is a set of behavior or a principle that we internalize so intrinsically that it becomes who we are. And our value that we're talking about today is we are redemption and we are bringers. We are bringers. Okay, was that a tooth? See, I started. I thought to myself, I actually said it out loud, but no one even cared because the crowd was going crazy. It was the first time I was at an MMA fight. It was a cage fight, and it was in an island, and I don't know if they followed protocol. I thought someone was going to die that night, and the crowd was crazy. It was raucous. They wanted blood. It was the craziest crowd I've ever seen outside of 212, and they were going. There were people, they would start grappling on the ground and stuff, and then the people would go, "Stand them up, ref." And that was coming from a woman 2 chairs down. And they wanted blood. They didn't want grappling, they wanted blood. And in the middle of that whole thing, at the end of it, there was a guy who won the night, and he was standing in the arena, and there was an interview, and he said, "What would you say to someone who wanted to start MMA?" And he said this, and I'll never forget it. He said, "You look at this arena, it's full of blood and all the sort of other things that came out of people when they were hit." And he goes, this is not it. He goes, "The hardest part for me was getting through the door of the gym." He said that someone had to meet him at the door and bring him in because otherwise he would never go. He said, "Once I got through the door, the rest of it was cake." And I always remember that. And in our relationship with God, we got to remember, before we go into bringers, we have to remember first that we have to go to the door. And once you get through the door, you have access to Christ. And we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. It's not always easy, but with Christ, everything becomes cake. It's actually hardest before you go through the door, okay? So before we become bringers, we got to know who the door is. Second thing, first, actually, write this down. You have something worth bringing. You have something worth bringing. Every single one of us have something worth bringing. Moses, what's in your hand? All I got is this staff. Bring it to me. I can use that. How do we feed all these people? What do we got? Just 5 loaves and 2 small fish. That's enough. Bring it to me. I can use that. What do you got in your house, widow? All I got is a small jar of oil. Bring it to me. That's enough. In fact, tell the community to bring every empty vessel because they might be empty, but you have the oil. Imagine what we would be like if we knew that everyone needed something that we have. Okay? So what if you think to yourself, well, I don't have the talent of Terrence to play the piano. I can't sing like Lizzie. I don't have the natural charisma like Pastor Ron. I don't have the good looks like Matt Helderman. And that haunts me every single day. What you have is enough though, if you bring it to him. What can God do if you understand that you have something worth bringing? Number 2, you have to bring others to serve with you. Bill Hybels was interviewed. They said, "You're on staff. You have one of the biggest churches in America. Your staff is paid well. Don't you ever feel bad as a staff member to bring in volunteers to serve with you?" And he goes, "I never feel bad asking people to serve with me." And they go, "Why?" He goes, "Well, people that are saved have a kingdom inside of them, but they spend most of their weeks in roles and duties that do not do anything to identify, to develop, and pull out their kingdom abilities and potential inside of them. So we have to design what we do to do just that. So no, I never feel bad inviting volunteers to serve with us because I'm inviting them into their purpose." Bring them to serve with you. Number 3, bring them to a higher place. So I was with Pastor Ron one time, and we were in a staff meeting. Here's my Pastor Ron stories. I always use them. And then we're in the staff meeting, and he goes, "First time I ever spoke for redemption." He goes, "Matt, I want you to speak this Wednesday." And I said, "What? Me? Why?" And he goes, "I have been looking for an opportunity for you." When you have people serve with you, you need to bring them to, not just to serve, but to bring them to a higher place, because that brings them opportunity and also exposure. Look for ways to expose people to other things. He also brought up the power of a glimpse in a message about the power of you become what you behold. And sometimes you got to be and just see a higher place in order to go to a higher place. And one time we were traveling together, and I always asked him questions, and he was always exhausted, and I'm always just like, "Well, what do you think about the kingdom this? Or what do you think about that?" And he was very, very patient with me. And at one time, at the end of one of these very tiring trips, I could not keep my mouth shut because I was asking God, why am I here? What am I doing? Why am I traveling around? Why am I seeing what I'm seeing? And I said to Pastor Ron, he probably doesn't remember this, but no backseas. I'm going to say he said it, and I'm going to hold on to it till I die. I go, Pastor Ron, I know why I'm here. And he goes, why is that? And he's tired. We're at baggage claim. I know he doesn't want to talk to me. And I said, this is a glimpse. And he said, probably to make me stop talking. He said, I believe that you are seeing a world that you will one day walk in. What did that do for me? That brought me to a higher place. So whenever you're serving with people and you're bringing them to a higher place, look for opportunities for them, and then also tell them if something sparks in their heart and you see life come into them, you say, I believe that you are seeing a world that you will one day walk in. And you will bring everyone with you. Last thing. So how do I start? I want to be a bringer. How do I start? Well, Andy Stanley once said, do for one what you wish you could do for all. You can't bring everybody, but that doesn't mean you bring nobody. Look for one and do for one what you wish you could do for all. And if you ever get tired or lose your nerve, you have to remember this, that somebody once brought you. Whenever I get tired or I look at ministry, I get weary or I don't want to, I remember that my dad sat me down on May 5th, and I was 5 years old, and after a prayer session, he said, stay with me. And he sat me down, and eventually we made the chair that I was sitting on after a prayer meeting the place where I accepted Jesus into my heart for the first time, in the same way that his father did for him. And so whenever I get tired, I remember that one moment. And whenever we do an altar call, or whenever I talk to any youth or any adult, I say, here, I remember when God first led me and met me at the door. Someone was there for me, so I'll be there for you. So to sum up, you have something worth bringing. Invite others to serve with you. Bring them to a higher place. If you lose your nerve, remember that someone first brought you. You don't have to bring everybody, you just have to bring one. Imagine what their life would look like if you met them at the door. You're thinking of a person right now. Start there. What if you got the hard part over with? Imagine if we as a staff started truly internalizing this value and believe that we can and that we should and that we must. Because why? We are redemption and we are bringers.
Excellent.